Hey listen, if you thought Vikings were all about rowing boats and shouting out, "Skull!" well, think again. This is a story about a guy who was a Viking version of a rock star, fearless, little unhinged, and always ready to make history, or at least a saga-worthy story. Some of it's real, some of it's a myth, and honestly, even the historians are struggling and saying, this story, sometimes maybe good, sometimes it may be shit. This is the tale of Ragnar Lothbrok. Let's start at the top. The Viking Age officially kicks off in 793 with a raid on Linden Farm, this monastery just off the coast of England. It wasn't exactly a friendly visit. Picture monks quietly chanting when suddenly, bada bing, bada boom, Ragnar's Viking crew storms in, grabs the gold and shouts, "Thanks for the donations." Now, was Ragnar there in real life? Well, maybe, maybe not. The sagas credit him, but history's a little fuzzy. Either way, this guy's name spreads like gossip at an Italian wedding. Ragnar wasn't just about looting and pillaging. He was a strategist. Supposedly he built the famous Viking longships with shallow drafts that could sail up a river like no one's business. In one French raid around 845, the Vikings went straight up the Seine River, bypassing all defences and demanding a ransom from Paris itself, King Charles the Bald. Yes, that was actually his name. Just on a side note, you'd think they could have come up with a name, a little bit more, how you doing? Anyway, King Charles the Bald panicked and paid them off £70 of silver. That's like robbing a bank and walking out with a briefcase full of Ferrero Rochers. And while some historians think the leader of the raid was a different Viking named Ragnar, Ragnar's saga swiped the credits. But Ragnar wasn't just a conqueror. He was a smooth talker too. When wooing Lagertha, a legendary shield maiden, he allegedly fought off a bear and a dog to impress her. Now, did this really happen? Probably not. But imagine the pickup line. "Hey babe, see what I did to the bear? You want to have a look at my longship?" Eventually Ragnar marries Lagertha, and together they have a son named Fridtjof. But being Ragnar, one woman was never going to be enough for his ambitions. After some time, and likely plenty of drama, he divorces Lagertha and sets his sights on Aslug, the daughter of the legendary warriors Brynhildr and Sigrid, the Dragon Slayers. Aslug was known for her beauty, wisdom and rumoured supernatural gifts, quickly becoming a pivotal figure in Ragnar's life and his rise to power. While Lagertha proved her strength on the battlefield, Aslug's lineage and intelligence helped Ragnar shape his legacy. As for his ultimate demise, well, here's where the story gets spicy. Late in his life, Ragnar, maybe feeling a little bit too cocky, decides to invade Northumberland in England with just 2 ships. You heard me too. It was like trying to find Maximus from Gladiator with a slingshot. He got captured by King Alla, who was in no mood for diplomacy. The saga says Ragnar was thrown into a pit of venomous snakes, a fate so wild you think Stephen King wrote it. And as he was dying, Ragnar shouted, "How the little piggies will grunt when they hear how the old boar suffers." Translation? Just wait till my boys hear about this. Let's meet the sons of Ragnar's piggies who grunted all the way into Viking history. Ivar the Boneless. The nickname's a bit questionable, but Ivar was anything but weak. He may have had a condition that left his legs useless, but the man's brain was as sharp as an axe. Ivar was a master strategist who led the great heathen army with terrifying precision. Picture a chess grandmaster in Viking form. His ruthlessness was legendary, and he didn't just defeat his enemy, he broke them mentally. When the great heathen army captured King Alla, Ivar orchestrated a punishment so brutal it became him famous, the Blood Eagle. This is where the victim's back was cut open, ribs broken, and lungs pulled out to resemble an eagle's wings. Whether it's myth or fact, it cemented Ivar's reputation as a Viking you don't mess with. Bjorn Ironside, the name says it all. This guy was as tough as nails, with a reputation of surviving anything thrown his way. Bjorn was the adventurer of the group, raiding the Mediterranean and even sacking parts of Italy and North Africa. Imagine Vikings in sun hats storming Sicily beaches shouting, "Where's the cannoli?" Bjorn wasn't just about brute force. He had a knack for outsmarting his enemies. In one legendary tale, he tricked the defenders of the city by faking his own death. Once inside, they opened the gates for his coffin and bada bing, bada boom, the crew storms in. Talk about pulling off a Trojan horse with flair. Sigrid, snake in the eye. Now this guy had a literal snake-shaped mark in his eye. At least that's what the saga says. He might not have been as famous as Ivar or as daring as Bjorn, but Sigrid carried Ragnar's legacy with pride. His claim to fame, leading alongside his brothers and securing territories across England. He was the kind of Viking who didn't need a flashy reputation because his presence alone said, "Oh, you know who my dad was?" Uber, often overlooked but no less feared. Uber was another key player in the Great Heathen Army, known for his loyalty and his battle skills. Uber helped conquer Anglo-Saxon territories, carving out parts of England for the Vikings. While the sagas don't hype him up as much as the others, his contribution to avenging Ragnar was critical. Think of him as the quiet enforcer in a mob movie, a bit like Luca Brasi in The Godfather. Doesn't talk much, but gets things done. After avenging their father and making history, these sons carved out their own path across Europe. Ivar continued his conquests, while Bjorn settled in Sweden, where his descendants ruled for generations. Sigrid's and Ulbert's legacies were equally impactful, leaving Viking fingerprints all over the map. So, was Ragnar real? Maybe yes, maybe no. Parts of his story match up with historical events, but other bits, like the snake pit and the bear fight, sound more like what Zio Pasquale comes up with after a few red wines. What's real though is the impact of his legend. His supposed sons played critical roles in Viking history, and his story has inspired everything from sagas to TV shows like Vikings. And there you have it, Ragnar Lothbrok, the Viking rock star, who may or may not have existed, but the type of legend that even Thor and Odin would have looked at and said, "Oh, monkey guts."